we all can talk of such situations which we have not.
Now reality of my society, sir, whom we are cheating ourselves.
We understand.
Which economy or which country in the world is able to absorb 1.3 crores people per year after year? We are not talking about population.
So let's stick to what the discussion, the topic is. Let's focus on.
Basic issue is overpopulation.
Let's not discuss something which is beyond the purview of this session. Otherwise, we can debate this issue endlessly in another session. But coming back to this issue, I think there should be some takeaway. Before we make final conclusions, if there are any other observations focusing on this topic, I would welcome that in just a couple of minutes, and then we can proceed for lunch. Any other comment which relates to the topic of the session? Yeah, please. Please introduce yourself and then.
Education of IT and electronics.
Please introduce yourself and then make your
Myself
observation.
Manmohan Pancholi from Maharashtra.
Yeah.
I am running my own computer institute and electronics institute from last 25 years. So the basic problem during the education, while you are engineering student or while you are studying in university, sir, the project we designed by the student should provide a particular market. During the education, whatever the project designed by the students are come to the market and some exhibitions are created, then our students' products are getting proper ideas and they will be benefited to others. Just like in China, government purchase all the products designed by the student, whether in university, and government sold all the product. If we are doing like that, then we are successful.
Any other comment, any other suggestion, observation, please.
I am Professor V.K. Verma, Vice Chancellor, ISECT University, Bhopal. Sir, I have one particular point as regard to electronics and IT industry, the skilling part for higher education. Could we have some program where internship to the graduates are given in industries where the industries are made to pay to them for those internship period, and that will give a good platform for learning skilling.
Let me just respond to you. You see, providing internship to individual students is the domain of the organization, basically. But the department, our department has really come out with an internship policy, which if they visit our website, you will find all our societies with students will have their own internship policy. Now, any student of yours, if he wishes to or she wishes to undergo internship with us in the department or in any of the societies, can certainly apply to us online. There is no problem. But a private company requesting internship or offering internship is primarily the decision of that company. The government really doesn't intervene in that situation, isn't it? And it's also the license between the university, the placement cell, and the private sector company. Ultimately, it is your initiative. Sometimes some students get paid internship, some people don't get paid. So it varies from institute to institute. But as far as we are concerned in the department, we have a first time policy of internship. You can look at our website, and if any of your student is really interested, then certainly apply. Any other comment, please?
Sir, I am Rajpal Singh Chauhan from Nagpuri, UP. I have a question which is related to this subject, but it is a little bit different from this one. As the topic which I am just going to raise here, that have been a little bit touched by Sri H. Poon, Director Srinagar, Jammu Kashmir. I would like to say that we develop a lot of schemes to make the students or unemployed employable. But we must have to think about this, that schemes which have been introduced earlier, why the schemes have been failed. One scheme that was introduced a little bit years back, that was MES, Modular Employment Scheme, and that ran into all over India, I think, and that was a part of UP also. I gave training to more than 2,000 students in that training, and I could not get the money back. the charge that we have to pay back, we couldn't get it. Why that scheme has been created in Uttar Pradesh? I would like to tell you about it. Because whenever any scheme is being launched, that is given to the big franchisee players, and they set up the centers in district levels or town levels to make themselves present there. They say to government that we are running our own centers, but in fact the truth is that everybody will be known here. They don't set up their centers, they give franchisee. And the franchisee system is that they give only
very brief, it should not become a presentation which our co-panelists made. I, in fact, requested General Kosher to stop. I mean, you have to be brief. Make your point. I mean, don't read out.
My point is that these systems should be well monitored to give the result whatever we expect. And
thank you very much. Thank you. I think I'll leave close the question answer session. Briefly, and based on whatever we heard from co-panelists and whatever observations have been made, I think as far as the topic is concerned, the innovative schemes, what I could make out is that there is a need for the relationship between industry and the training institution, who both have to understand the requirement of each other, so that you ensure complete employability of the skilled person. And lastly, I think based on this, we should be able to make predictions for the manufacturing sector in the coming years. The point that I had made in the beginning, this is what, considering if NIDET finds it useful at some stage, can look at that for the industry. Thank you very much for your cooperation. We have short the time limit by an hour. Let me thank my co-panelists. I enjoyed the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for a very informative and thought-provoking session. Thank you also to the audience for their points of view and putting it forward to us. Please be seated. The session is not yet over. Please be seated. Just a few more moments, please. Please be seated. May I request Shri A.H. Moon to present the mementos as a token of our respect to the esteemed chair and panelists. I now request Srimati Swarnali Dev to present a memento to Shri A.H. Moon. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of food for thought, and now, thought for food. May I request you all to proceed for lunch, please? And we would gather back in about 35 minutes. Thank you very much. Chair for this session. Dr. Rajendra Kumar is a senior officer in the Indian Administrative Service and is currently working as the Joint Secretary E-Gov in the Department of Electronics and Information Technology, DIET. He is leading the entire e-governance and technology development for Indian language initiative at the national level and is responsible for the overall implementation of the flagship national e-governance plan of the Government of India. Dr. Kumar has won a number of national and international awards and recognitions for academic and professional achievements during his career. Recently, he received the prestigious UN Public Service Award for 2014 for the Mobile Seva project of DIET. Welcome, sir. Let me now introduce the panelists. Professor M.P. Gupta. He is a professor at the Management Department, Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. He is the Area Chair of Information Systems and also Coordinator for Center of Excellence in eGov at IIT Delhi. Known for pioneering works in the area of e-governance that include 18 doctoral theses, 13 sponsored projects worth 5 crores. He founded the International Conference on E-Governance, which is running into its 12th year with 14 edited volumes, which is supposed to be the largest collection of literature on eGov, available freely at www.iceg.net. Welcome, sir. I request you to come here. Our next panelist, Shri Muktesh K. Pardeshi. He is the Joint Secretary, Passport Seva Project and Chief Passport Officer in the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. As the mission leader, he has led Passport Seva since 2010, which has been awarded with the E-Governance Award of Excellence. Earlier, he served as the Minister, Deputy Head of Mission at the Embassy of India in Jakarta, and Counselor at the Permanent Mission of India to the Conference of Newfoundland in Geneva. Welcome, sir. Next among the panelists, Dr. Ashwini Kumar Sharma, an alumnus of MNIT Allahabad and Birla Institute of Technology, with over 29 years of rich experience in the field of electronic and information technology. Dr. Sharma has worked in many national and international organizations of repute, such as the ISRO, DARC, Toshiba, Corporation of Tokyo, RICO, etc. After his stint as the Managing Director of Rajcom, a Rajasthan State Government Society, he at present is spearheading the National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology, a body of the Department of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, as its Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director. Welcome, sir. Next, amongst our esteemed panelists, Shri Ajay Chakti. He is a 1992 batch officer and is serving as Additional Secretary IT in the Government of India since April 2012. He carries a vast experience of working in various other departments in government of NCT, of Delhi and Andaman administration. These include Transport Department, Personal Department, CEO Zilla Parishad, Additional District Magistrate and Trade and Taxes Department. Welcome, sir. Next we have Dr. M.P. Pillai. He has been to Switzerland under Indo-Swiss Cooperation Fellowship Program, visited various universities, research labs and industries in Germany and France. After merger with the CEDTI and then the DOEC Society, worked as Additional Director and Chief Coordinator at the National Level Scheme on hardware courses till June 2010. He's also worked as the Officiating Director NIDE Chennai, a new center at Chennai which was established under his guidance. Presently working as Director NIDE Calicut. Welcome, sir. Over to you all, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, and I welcome all the panelists to this discussion on e-governance skills to use public services and improve process transfer efficiency. As you're all aware, and as we have seen in the first half of today's program, the broader context now in the country is the program on Digital India, which is really aimed at transforming the country through information technology to take it to greater heights in almost all domains of governance. This places a great emphasis on development of skills, on ensuring that the people at large, they have the skills to use e-governance services, and they have the skills to use IT in general to improve their own livelihood opportunities, to exploit the various options that come up before them, especially with use of IT in different domains of governance. These are likely to increase in future. So this is the broad context in which now all the efforts are geared to ensure that not only we use IT gainfully in domains of governance, but people at large, they benefit from all these efforts. There are three vision areas of Digital India, which I would like to emphasize here. First is to ensure that the digital infrastructure is provided to every citizen. Second is governance and services on demand, which basically means that the e-governance services and the quality of governance, they must be improved to meet the needs of the people, and citizens should be able to obtain these services as and when required by them on a 24/7 basis through various multiple delivery channels. The third area is to ensure that we achieve the goal of digital empowerment of citizens. And this is where the emphasis on the skills becomes extremely important. And this is where we need to focus our efforts to ensure that citizens get the maximum benefit from these interventions. As we are all aware, so far the focus in our country in the e-governance domain has been within the framework of the National E-Governance Plan, which is now being implemented for the last 8 years. We have a new version called E-Kranti or NGP 2.0 coming up. But at present, the NGP framework, it covers the domain of e-governance at both central, state and local levels. And a number of projects have been quite successful in meeting the objectives of delivering services to citizens electronically. But then, are we really able to provide the benefits to the maximum extent possible to all the stakeholders? That's the question that we should be asking. Are citizens really getting benefited from these services which are now being delivered electronically? Do they have the skills to really gain maximum benefit out of this entire framework? It is in this context that today's panel discussion is important, and I would once again like to welcome all the panelists, and probably the format could be as follows. I would request the panelists to make initial comments for about 5 to 10 minutes, maximum 10 minutes, and then at the end of all the interventions, we can have discussion from the audience. So I would request the first panelist, Mukesh Pardesi, to make the
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.